There is an ETH ETF coming your way. Is this good? Is this bad? What does this mean for Bitcoin and your future? Let's dive into it. So we had a Bitcoin ETF earlier this year, and then right away we had a little bit of rumblings about an ETH ETF, and then boom, ETH ETF approved. Now, ETH is different than Bitcoin. ETH doesn't work the same. The actual voting of the Ethereum network is completely almost opposite to the voting of the Bitcoin network, because as a reminder, Ethereum is proof of stake, not proof of work. And so we have to remember, we have to understand when the holders of ETH, which is the token that runs on Ethereum, he who holds the ETH actually gets to vote on the ETH, whereas with Bitcoin, the holder actually has no vote because it is proof of work. It is that who is actually contributing to the network, not just holding the benefit of the network that gets to vote. So right away, I wanted to make sure that we understood the key differences behind ETH and BTC. But what does this mean? What is the internet saying?
The SEC has made a decision on spot Ether ETFs. Contessa Brewer's got the details. Contessa.
And it's been approved, Melissa. That's the big news coming in, that these ETFs based on the price of Ether have been approved for the NASDAQ, the CBOE, and the New York Stock Exchange, potentially paving the way for these ETFs to be listed later this year. Remember, earlier this week, the agencies themselves had largely predicted, as had many of the experts on our air, that this would be denied based on some of the commentary we had heard around the Bitcoin ETFs being approved. But in fact, you've got Van Eck, ARK Investments, BlackRock hoping to launch these ETFs tied to the second largest cryptocurrency. You're seeing Ether up about 1.5%. Bitcoin, by comparison, took a little bit of a dip there. But again, that's the news coming in. The SEC has approved ETFs tied to Ether.
This is a huge shift from even a few months ago, because ETH or Ether is a security. By definition, you are reliant on the works of others to see a financial benefit. And so it's going to be very interesting to see how the SEC decides to spin, which mental gymnastics we're going to throw at the wall to see what sticks in order to say that ETH is not a security. Not to say that you can't have an ETF, it's not a security. However, they are going to say that ETH or Ether is not a security, and that is going to be interesting. We had some people saying 50K ETH incoming. Let's look at the ETH to BTC chart. Okay, down 0.25%. Okay, so it's up 2% against Bitcoin over 5 days, up 10% over Bitcoin over the last month. Things are looking pretty good. Up 4% for 6 months, not quite as good as 1 month, so that's good. Up 4% year to date, that's 6 months, okay. What about the past year? Down 18%. So if you look at ETH against BTC, you understand that over time, everything goes down against Bitcoin. And that is true of ETH. However, conversely, if we look at an ETH USD chart, we can see it is up and to the right. Ladies and gentlemen, even a centralized token like ETH can be a store of value against the dollar. However, reminder, the point of Bitcoin is not simply a store of value against the dollar. The point of Bitcoin is freedom money, money that you can own and control, money that is number go up, but also money that is self-custody, that you have full control over, that nobody can 6102. I do not see this ETH ETF helping to recover against Bitcoin. In theory, this ETH ETF could help you trade Ether a lot easier. It could help you get some lucky stock picks choosing Ether over Bitcoin. But it is unlikely that this sends ETH to 50K in a world where Bitcoin is not worth at least 20 times more. What else is the world saying? Now ADA ETF. If we start seeing all of these centralized scams hit the ETF market, we are in for a bull run like the world has never seen. And it has been my experience that most people, not all people, most people buying these scams, buying these shit coins, when they buy the shit coin, they sell the shit coin at some point, and that all goes back into Bitcoin. If you want to benefit from this craze, but you don't want to gamble in the crypto casino, just buy Bitcoin. Do not participate in the crypto casino. No ADA ETF, no Cardano, no Monero, no other token ETFs, please. All right, next we have
Been hoping to launch our pre-sale on February 1st. So this is the way to get into Ethereum financially, which would be that we would be selling Ether at a rate of 2,000 Ether for 1 Bitcoin, and Ether would become the internal currency of the Ethereum network. So you would be able to
Okay, just quickly, it is so key here that you listen to that. Let's listen to it one more time.
Ether would become the internal currency of the Ethereum network.
The Ethereum network, Ethereum, and Ether are different. The Ethereum network is actually probably a pretty good innovation. And originally, Vitalik wanted it to run on Bitcoin. He wanted Bitcoin to power the smart contract network of Ethereum. However, he got in touch with Sir Anthony Delorio, and Anthony suggested, no. Make a currency, pre-sell the currency of the internet, as it is deemed, pre-sell the currency of the network, and make a couple $1 billion. And they did. And they did it quite well. But that is precisely what makes ETH a security. That's what makes it a scam, is that some one individual was able to pre-sell a bunch of pre-mined tokens. Now, for all of you coming into this 10 years later, you might think, who cares? That was the past. But no. The fundamental creation of anything is what makes that thing valuable in the future. And ETH was made on a lie and on a scam. And that makes the entire network, that gives the entire network an Achilles heel and a kryptonite, something that Bitcoin doesn't have.
So Ether would be like the BTC in Bitcoin, or like the XRP in Ripple. It's sort of the glue that holds the system together. If he wants to run a contract, you would have to pay transaction fees denominated in Ether. And if you want to exchange between two different assets on the Ethereum network, chances are Ether would be the intermediate currency that you would be doing it through. So it's sort of like the reserve currency of the network.
And all of this makes sense to me. The way that Ether was designed to run the Ethereum network, you can see why that makes sense. You can also see why people were excited to own it. You're taking a gamble on the future of the internet. You're making a gamble on the future of the network, the eventual network that might eventually run smart contracts. But make no mistake, it is no different than investing in somebody's vision, than investing in the works of somebody else so that you can financially benefit. This is not some decentralized network like even Vitalik claims it to be. And frankly, some of the things that Vitalik has said has debunked the fact that ETH, the Ethereum network, is decentralized. XRP fixes that? No, XRP is the same thing. XRP is an even smaller, kind of more niche for what the future of payments could be. But honestly, I think layer 2 on Bitcoin, albeit is slower and worse than XRP is right now, some layer 2 protocol in a decentralized network is the future of payments. It is not centralized payment systems that are faster. The problem with payments right now are not that they are not fast enough. That is a problem, but it's not the problem. The problem is that they are centralized. The problem is that somebody else controls the network in which your payments are made. On March 31st, the Ethereum commodity didn't exist. On Feb 1st, Vitalik pre-sold the Ethereum commodity to himself and various insiders. Later, Vitalik would register a trademark on the Ethereum commodity. Definitely fits the definition of a security. Yes, bang on. This is a security. Tell me you didn't buy without telling me you didn't buy. This guy is implying that some people are salty they didn't get into the Ethereum presale. And fair enough, right? Maybe you were salty that you didn't get into the Ethereum presale. Let's get a quick reminder as to what Mr. Saylor has to say.
Which one's the best crypto asset? Well, Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Okay. What's the second best? There is no second best. There's no second best crypto asset. There's a crypto asset. It's called Bitcoin, right? Right? There's no second best. Okay. It's not like Google and Facebook. It's not like Apple and Amazon. Yeah. We can debate Apple or Amazon. What's better? They both look like tech monopolies to me. They both look pretty good. On the other end, Bitcoin or no, Bitcoin.
I think Saylor has a point here. There is no second best because you work all day. You work probably close to every day, probably close to every week of the year. And you trade that time. You trade your youth, you trade your young adulthood, you trade your parent years, you trade your post-parent years, and you trade some of your golden years. You trade all that time for money. And you have that money so that you can buy things in the present and in the future. The problem is the money you trade your time for doesn't actually bring your time into the future. It can't. It's getting debased every single year. So if you trade your time for a piece of money, and that piece of money gets worse and worse and worse, you're being robbed, you're being cheated. Well, enter Bitcoin. Enter something that actually preserves the value that you create with your time. There's one group of properties that make sound money, and Bitcoin captures those properties so well that there cannot be a second best when you are comparing it to sound money. The reason Bitcoin was invented was not for you to make fiat gains. It was for you to keep the value that you create with your time. And so what do you want? You, the audience, I'm talking to you directly. What do you actually want out of an asset? Do you want some number go up crypto casino ETF where someone else controls the value, where someone else can tell you can or cannot buy it, where someone else is ultimately your master? Or do you want an asset that you can trade your time and receive value, hold that value, spend that value, use that value how you want? Which one is better for your future? I'm serious. The number one asset that will give my grandkids, my great-grandkids, my future generations down the bloodline that I will never meet, that asset that gives me freedom is the one that generation will benefit. But prove me wrong. In the comment section right now, tell me which asset is better, and please, please, please tell me why. That's it for today. Stay sovereign.